Yo, this is Lee here. I'm bringing another discussion about Dark Souls 3. Today we're going to talk about invasions and how invasions are pretty darn terrible at the moment. First off, we're going to, discuss why it's terrible, all the points, not just, it's just R1, R1, R1. It's more to it than that. It's more on not so much as the handicaps that an invader has per se. It's specific handicaps. One of the main handicaps is what you just saw right there. Tears of Denial. Tears of Denial is a little gimmicky spell that almost anyone and their mother can equip for as long as they have 15 faith into attunement slots, both of which is easy to obtain. The main reason is because it only requires a very little amount of faith. The only thing you have to do is get your faith to 10, which is relatively easy. Then get the priest ring after beating champion Wolnir. Again, which is relatively easy because you're always going to have help and you're going to cheat your way through the game. So these people like her, for example, a mage, is walking around with tears. So even if I were to get her weak, she'd have enough time to dance around until she summons a swarm of phantoms. And she will endlessly summon her phantoms. Now, if I could get her to the point where she could die and then hit her with maybe like a spell, it would be pretty okay. But the fact that I have to whittle her down, waste all my stamina, get her weak just so that I can hit her again, is bullcrap. And I'm gonna address some points of why that's completely bull. There's another spell in this game, Warmth. It's a pyromancy. It also requires 2 attunement slots, but it requires 25 faith for a spell that heals you very little, like little pulses at a time. Like, it doesn't heal very quickly, and it heals everyone in the area, friendlies and hostiles all. But that costs 25 faith. And now you have a spell that allows someone to live a fatal attack for 15 faith. I don't understand what they're trying to do with that, but I think that's completely broken as a spell for its low faith cost. I really believe that the faith requirement should double to 30. That is way too powerful of a spell to cast for such a low requirement. Now, we're going to discuss another issue in invasions that really screws up, the invaders in terms of, sort of a handicap. And that's the seed of a tree of gankers. The seed of a ganker tree. Yes, this seed, it lets it so that the enemies can attack you. I'm okay with that. The problem is that you have to stack all of that, the enemies, plus everyone and their mother wearing tears. For example, both of them have tears up there, so I can't really kill them. They'll keep drinking their Campbell's chicken noodle soup and drink their Frost Gatorade, and it'll prevent them from dying. If any other invader comes in and fails, which they typically do, or even I can fail, they get more Frost Gatorade and Campbell's chicken noodle soup, which allows them to keep casting tears. Now, for me, I think the solution should be that the dual charm should deactivate that. It should deactivate the seed and it should deactivate the tears. Another thing that should be done is that those spells and effects shouldn't last indefinitely. Like, it lasts until you knock it off, or it lasts until they die, which is ridiculous. Like, something that powerful that lets them turn enemies against you should last no more than maybe 2 or 3 minutes. The same thing with Tears of the Nile. It should last maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and then you could put on a lingering Dragon Crest ring to buff the effect. You should be able to wait them out, but you can't. You're forced in this situation where there's a bunch of phantoms Inhumans. They all have tears. You cannot finish them off. They'll always survive and they'll run away once the others start stabbing you in the back. Then they'll Campbell's back up. And it'll rinse and repeat the cycle, but you inevitably lose all your Estus in the process. And then you die. You end up losing. That's it. The end. And this is maybe, for me, this is every 1 in 5 invasions. I would say out of 5 invasions, it'll be like this, depending on where I am. It varies. In this stage, don't invade here. I would suggest do not invade in this area. You will run into a lot of shenanigans where people are using the seed of a ganker tree. And you will get pummeled all the time by the snake dudes. Like, it's just inevitable. Another location where they use the seed of a ganker tree is Central Irithil. They'll always do it there. Every single time. And there'll be like 1 host, 2 phantoms, a mega blue spirit. And if you're unfortunate enough, the dark spirit will be against you too. Or the mad dark spirit. So they'll have 5. It'll be a 5-on-1 battle. And sometimes they don't always have a seed up because all of their friends will be dark spirits. So when they pummel you and get you weak, you can't run away towards the enemies to heal. Because the dark spirits can also pursue you and hit you with their spears and their long-range weapons until they finish you off. So it's even more worse when you're up against a swarm of dark spirits as opposed to phantoms. Like, trust me, there's nothing you can do against dark spirits because they know how to space and they know how to make sure that they don't hit each other as hard as much as they're hitting you. Like, they're always going to out-trade you because they're all hitting you at once. So there's that. And then there's the infinite amount of summons that a host can do. They can continuously summon back to back to back. There's no timer, there's no cooldown. They can keep doing it. They would be dead if they didn't have all these other situations that keeps them from living. Now, this is a Souls game here. It's supposed to be, difficult, I would say. It shouldn't be so easy to not die. Like, they set it up so that I wouldn't say that an invader is like handicapped on purpose. It's just that people have found ways to make it so that an invader is so handicapped that they can't do anything. Now, in terms of damage, there's no problem with an invader doing their damage. If you can just find ways to get around the typical trolley shenanigans that they can pull off, then yes, an invader has a chance. Most times, when you invade and they summon another phantom, you don't get a second dark spirit. You're still by yourself. Like, it's just you against, like, swarms of players. And even then, if they're about to lose, they'll just run to the boss room and they'll walk through the fog wall, enter the boss. You can't backstab them like you once could or hit them like in Dark Souls 1. Like, they could walk into the fog wall, but it would take a couple seconds. And in that moment, you can stop them from getting inside. That was really good, especially within the old Gankrut Garden from Dark Souls 1. You could just, when they walk into Sif's room, you could punch them and keep them from escaping. Or throw a firebomb, like, from far away, if they had the distance, and you would pop them in the back, and you can catch them every time. But now, they just walk through the door. I don't want to fight you anymore. Or they disconnect. They love to disconnect. Like, that's like the most sour thing that you could possibly do, is disconnect. Even after all that, you whoop like 9, 10 phantoms. Like, you're on a killing spree. And then when you finally get to the host, disconnect. Mom, plug, Mom! He beat my friends! Alright, Sonny, I'm gonna pull the plug now. Click. End of the match. And there you have it. There's PvP. So yeah, I want to hear your opinions on what do you think about invasions in Dark Souls 3. I honestly believe that I shouldn't have to wear an armor of thorns to counteract Tears of Denial when they're at 1 health, because they can easily just equip a Sun Princess ring during the fight or in any way, and then as they're getting up from a riposte or backstab, they get their life back, to survive the scratches, or their iframes during a roll protects them. Especially if they weigh less than you, they'll roll farther. We can only dream of, them patching in an effective method for invaders to counteract these little bastards. I will catch you guys later. Peace. Look at him run! Look at him run like the coward he is!